So a question that could be asked, my beautiful friends, is why bother about this segment of exercise and living well? Maybe we should concentrate just on our ruchnius, our spirituality, davening and mitzvahs and being honest at work. Why move our body? Why is it important? So I want to share with you an idea based on the general works of Kabbala. And this is something I've received from my teachers, and I believe it's very important. As we go through our timeline, as we go through our history, we know based on 3 Maimah Chazal that there's 6,000 years. We have 6,000 years, then we go into our 7,000th year, which is Shabbos. And what we can share is as following, that there's a process that occurs here. We start off with the mind going into the emotions, and from the emotions going into the physical. So the first 2,000 years is Bechina of what we call Tov Avo, which is very much to do with intense creativity, the mind. Then we go into the world of Torah, Rachmana Libabei, it's Bechina of Torah, emotions. And then generally we could then go into Ikved Mashiach, which is a tikkun on the Gashmi, it's the Guf. There's many ways to describe this, because really we're revealing HaKadosh Baruch Hu in different dimensions of Ein Sof through the different workings of our universe. And within human experience, we know we have our mind, we have our emotional states, and we have our body. Saying it in a slightly different way in the world of Kabbala, we have Chabad, Chochma Bina Das, then Chagat, Chesed, Gevur, Tiferes, and then Netzach Hod Yesod going into Malchus. So there's an unfolding of these different dimensions in our world. And what we can share is like this, even though yesteryear we didn't hear so much about physicality, and what we did hear is physicality is not good and we should stay away from physicality. What we can share is that in our generation, in our dor, importantly is to think about our tikkun. And our tikkun, our Avodah, is a tikkun on the Gashmias. The unfolding process of history, of where we are today, we're on the last leg of our Avodah, and we're here to fix up, so to speak, which we'll explain in a moment, but we're here to engage in the Gashmias. Now, another dimension of Avodah, a bit more internal to share, is that when Adam Arishon ate from the tree, there was something called shattering of the vessels. Shviras HaKelim. And when we speak about the Shviras HaKelim, the Mekubalim explain that there's what we call Nitzosos Kedusha. These holy sparks that are trapped within Olam Hazeh on all the dimensions. So there's holy sparks trapped in our thinking, holy sparks trapped in our emotionality, holy sparks trapped in our physical body, the holy sparks trapped in the physical world. And our goal throughout the timeline process of 6,000 years coming into the 7,000 year is to release these sparks, to gather them and elevate them to the rightful place. And when all the sparks, when all these shards of this kli that was shattered is returned to its right place, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will rebuild the kli, will rebuild this vessel. And then that is what we call going into the Geula, Mashiach, Geula. How do we do this Avodah? This Avodah is done through the way we interact with reality. My level of consciousness in the way I interact with the physical world, my kavana, my ruchnius, and how I relate and identify with the physical world. So through that, I gather, I'm releasing, gathering, and elevating these Nitzosos Kedusha. The way I interact with my body, the way I interact with my emotions, the way I interact with my thinking. I'm constantly doing a birur. I'm constantly working to relinquish, release, gather, and elevate all of these Nitzosos Kedusha. And in our dor, the last leg of our Avodah before Moshiach, again, we spoke about how you have Chabad, Chagat Tanehim, Netzach Hod Yesod. We're in the last leg, and this last leg of our Avodah is to matakin physicality. So it shouldn't surprise us that if we look at the world but 150 to 200 years ago, it was a different state than we are today. 100 50 years ago, majority of people living in poverty. There's wars, there's pogroms. There's not much stability. If we open up our eyes and see our world today, we're living, Baruch Hashem, with stability. The war is not on the outside anymore. Really, the war's on the inside. And the last leg of our Avodah is to pick up all of these Nitzos Kedusha in all the nooks and crannies. So we see today, physicality is galore. We're richer than ever. We have more food than ever. We have more gadgets and gizmos more than ever. And yet we still see the anxiety, pain, suffering, stress. We see it because pretty much people are very, very overwhelmed. And as Yidden, as B'nai Yisrael, we want to be essentialists. We want to completely and utterly focus in on that which is important. And to understand as well, having our mind, our brain, our hearts open in order to see what's in front of us, our eyes and ears open, to notice what's called for from me now. And what we can suggest based on a tremendous amount of sources. Our Avodah, in a very big way, is to matak in the Gashmias. From a perspective of money, for example, and health, health, the guf. And as we go into this month's Avodah, it's to understand on a very basic level, ikved de Mashiach, the heels. We're coming down to the lowest part of reality, the physicality, which really, as we know from Chabad Torah, is the highest. Logically speaking, because to create spirituality is easy for spiritual beings, kiviyachol, so to speak, and to create physicality, the source of it must be high in the spiritual realms. We are in amazing times, Chevra, and yes, our Avodah is an Avodah of the Gashmias, being in the Gashmias, relating to the Gashmias in a Kodesh v'Tahar way. It takes time, it's not poshut. There's a lot of mind shifts that have to occur, rethinking a lot of our premises of how we live in this world, a lot of shifting in our consciousness and our frameworks of thinking. But Chevra, we can do it and we have this. Bracha, Mazel and Hatzlacha, Mamash Kol Yeshuas.